sank to science fiction sleep story, presented by Bedtime Stories. Make yourself comfortable, close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath. And now, let the story begin. The soft glow of the nebula painted Alara's window in hues of amethyst and rose. It wasn't a static painting, but a living, breathing canvas, each swirl of gas and dust, a slow-motion dance, choreographed by cosmic winds. Outside, beyond the shimmering duraglass, lay the stellar nursery, a vast star-birthing cloud that was both the stellarium's home and its purpose. Alara traced a finger along the cool glass, her breath misting for a moment before vanishing. Her room, like all rooms in the stellarium's child quarters, was designed for comfort and wonder. The walls were a gentle cream, dotted with tiny embedded lights that mimicked distant star clusters. Her bed, a nest of soft recycled dream fibers, floated a few centimeters above the floor, humming a lullaby of low-frequency vibrations that resonated with the station's core. Tonight, however, sleep felt like a distant planet. She wasn't waiting for a story from her mother, or a whispered secret from her father. Tonight, Alara was waiting for the stellar drift. The stellarium was more than just a space station. It was a living, breathing marvel of biomechanical engineering, woven from ancient self-repairing alloys and organic growth structures. It had been built centuries ago by the first weavers who believed that humanity's purpose was not just to observe the stars, but to tend to them, to help the new ones bloom, and to gather the gentle energy they shed, ensuring a delicate cosmic balance. This energy, these shimmering motes of nascent starlight, was known as stellar drift. Every night, like clockwork, the stellarium opened its outermost collection membranes, vast shimmering nets that stretched for kilometers into the nebula. They were almost invisible, woven from a unique material that allowed the pure, raw stellar drift to pass through, filtering out the harsher radiation and microscopic cosmic dust. And every night, a gentle rain of filtered stellar drift would fall through specially designed conduits, illuminating the station in a soft ethereal light before being harvested and converted into the clean energy that powered their world. But Alara wasn't interested in the processed light, the steady hum of power. She yearned for the raw, unfettered beauty. She slipped out of her bed, her bare feet silent on the warm cushioned floor. A small, spherical orb, a lumi bug, detached from the ceiling and followed her, casting a soft golden glow that chased away the deepest shadows. It was programmed to keep her company, a guardian against the quiet vastness. Alara padded to the small circular viewing platform built into her room. It was her favorite spot. A single, clear duraglass dome, just big enough for her to sit cross-legged, projected slightly beyond the main wall, giving her an almost panoramic view of the nebula. She pressed her nose against the cool surface. The nebula swirled, a cosmic ocean of gas and dust, punctuated by the brilliant pinpricks of young, eager stars. Some pulsed with the furious energy of birth, others glowed with the steady, golden warmth of infancy. And between them, barely visible to the naked eye, were the tendrils of stellar drift, like shimmering currents in an invisible river. Tonight, the currents seemed particularly vibrant, pulsing with a deeper blue than usual. Alara felt a familiar flutter in her chest, a mix of awe and a profound, quiet longing. She was 8 cycles old, and for as long as she could remember, she had dreamed of becoming a drift hunter. Drift hunters were the specialized crew who ventured out of the stellarium's protective shell into the heart of the stellar nursery. They piloted nimble, silent craft, guided by the ancient star charts and the wisdom passed down through generations. Their mission was to monitor the nascent stars, to ensure their healthy growth, and sometimes, to gently guide the stronger currents of stellar drift towards the stellarium's collection membranes. It was dangerous work, requiring immense skill and an almost intuitive understanding of the cosmic winds. But it was also the most beautiful work, Alara thought. To be so close to the raw starlight, to feel its energy on your skin, to witness the birth of a star firsthand. Her grandmother, Lyra, was one of the most respected drift hunters. Lyra's stories were legendary among the children of the stellarium. She spoke of navigating through shimmering nebular storms, of feeling the deep rumble of a star heart igniting, of witnessing the rare star petal formations, where stellar drift coalesced into crystalline, flower-like structures before dissipating. Elara cherished those stories, replaying them in her mind like holovids. She knew the names of the nebula's major currents, the temperaments of the different star clusters, the specific hum of a healthy protostar. But Lyra never let Elara come close to her drift hunter gear, not even her old, worn flight suit. "Not yet, little starseed," she'd always say, her eyes twinkling like distant suns. "First, you must learn to listen to the whispers of the stellarium, to feel its heartbeat. The stars will wait for you." Elara thought she and Wask listening. She spent hours in the stellarium's central gardens, a vast biodome where terrestrial plants thrived, nurtured by recycled atmosphere and processed stellar drift. She'd lie among the glowing mosses, feeling the gentle thrum of the station's core, imagining it as the giant heart of a sleeping cosmic beast. She felt the subtle shifts in air pressure, the faint vibrations that hummed through the deck plates, the distant echoes of the massive collection membranes unfurling. Tonight, the hum was different. It wasn't a bad different, just a deeper note, like a cello playing a low, resonant chord. It vibrated through her small body as she stared out at the nebula. Then, it began. A faint shimmer, barely perceptible at first, appeared at the very edge of the nebula, far beyond the stellarium's reach. It was a wave, not of light, but of pure, concentrated stellar drift, moving with an unusual speed. It was a shade of deep, oceanic blue, unlike the usual pale golds and soft silvers that typically drifted past. Elara gasped, pressing her hands flat against the duraglass. The lumibug hovered closer, its glow intensifying slightly, as if sensing her excitement. This wasn't the gentle, widespread rain that usually preceded the collection cycle. This was a concentrated stream, a river of vibrant blue, cutting a path directly towards the stellarium. It pulsed, almost rhythmically, with an internal light that seemed to shift between sapphire and indigo. She knew, instinctively, that this was unusual. Lyra had spoken of concentrated streams before, but they were rare, and usually observed far deeper in the nebula, near the most active star-birthing regions. For one to approach the stellarium directly, it was unprecedented in her lifetime. As the blue current drew closer, it seemed to gather intensity, its light growing brighter, casting ethereal shadows across the nebula's gas clouds. Elara could see individual motes now, tiny, shimmering particles, each one a miniature galaxy of light. They danced and swirled within the stream, like a school of luminous cosmic fish. A soft chime sounded from the wall panel next to her bed. It was the signal. The stellarium's outer membranes were unfurling. Elara scrambled off the viewing platform, her heart hammering with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. She knew she shouldn't be awake. Her parents would be cross. But she couldn't tear herself away. She darted to the main viewport in the living area, a much larger expanse of duraglass that offered a grander view. Her parents, Taryn and Lena, were already there, standing silently, their faces illuminated by the eerie blue glow that was now filling the entire viewport. "It's beautiful," Lena whispered, her voice hushed with wonder. Her hand instinctively reached for Taryn's. Taryn, usually so pragmatic, simply nodded, his eyes wide. "I've never seen a current like this. So focused." He was an astrophysicist, specializing in nebular dynamics, and even he seemed awestruck. Elara slipped between them, feeling small but vital, a conduit for their shared amazement. The blue stellar drift was now so close it seemed to wrap around the stellarium itself, bathing everything in its unearthly glow. The collection membranes, now fully unfurled, shimmered like giant spiderwebs, ready to catch the cosmic bounty. The hum of the stellarium intensified, a deep, resonant thrum that vibrated through the floor and up through Elara's feet. It felt less like a machine, and more like a colossal, living creature drawing a deep breath. The blue current hit the membranes. It wasn't a crash or a sudden impact. It was a gentle embrace. The stellar drift flowed into the membranes, and for a moment, the entire network pulsed with an incandescent, sapphire light. The light was so bright, so pure, that Elara had to squint, even through the filtered duraglass. Then, something even more extraordinary happened. As the blue stellar drift passed through the primary filtration layers, instead of dissipating into the usual general luminosity that powered the station, it seemed to coalesce. Tiny points of light, no bigger than the tip of her smallest finger, began to form within the current. They were intensely bright, miniature stars held captive, each one glowing with the same deep, vibrant blue. Star gems, Lena breathed, her voice barely audible. I've only ever read about them in the ancient texts. Terran leaned closer to the viewport, a data pad appearing in his hand as if by magic. His fingers flew across its surface, his expression a mix of scientific curiosity and profound disbelief. The energy signature. It's off the charts. Pure, unadulterated protostellar energy. And the resonance frequency. It's almost a perfect match for the stellarium's core hum. Elara didn't understand the technical terms, but she understood the wonder in her parents' voices. And she understood the feeling in her own chest, a profound connection to the shimmering blue jewels that were now flowing into the stellarium's conduits. These weren't just motes of light. They were tiny, perfect crystals of condensed starlight. Each one seemed to hold a universe within its depths, swirling with miniature nebulae and faint, unborn suns. They looked like liquid diamonds, forged in the heart of a cosmic furnace, now cooled into solid beauty. They're not dispersing, Terran murmured, his eyes glued to the readout on his datapad. The filtration system usually breaks down the larger aggregations. These are holding their form. Lena reached out, pressing her palm against the glass, as if she could touch the flowing stream of star gems. What does it mean, Terran? Why now? Why this color? He shook his head, his brow furrowed in concentration. I don't know, Lena. The models don't account for this. This isn't just a variant current. It's an entirely new phenomenon. It's almost like a message. Elara felt a shiver run down her spine. A message? From whom? From the stars themselves. She looked up at her parents, who were lost in their scientific observation. They were seeing data, energy signatures, anomalies. Elara was seeing magic. She was seeing the very essence of the stories Lyra told, made manifest before her eyes. The flow of star gems continued for what felt like an eternity, though it was likely only minutes. The blue light pulsed through the stellarium, making the entire station feel alive in a way it never had before. Every surface seemed to hum with a quiet energy, every shadow danced with sapphire light. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the concentrated current began to dissipate. The blue river thinned, its intensity lessened, and soon, only the usual gentle stellar drift remained, shimmering in pale golds and silvers. The star gems, however, had already passed into the stellarium's internal systems, destined for further analysis, and perhaps processing. The lumibug, which had been glowing a brilliant blue, now returned to its soft gold. The deep cello hum of the stellarium softened, returning to its familiar, comforting thrum. Remarkable, Terran finally said, his voice still tinged with awe. Absolutely remarkable. I need to get to the observation deck. We need to analyze this immediately. Lena nodded, but her gaze lingered on the fading blue glow. I'll come with you. This feels important. They turned to leave, then paused, noticing Elara. Elara? What are you doing awake, little starseed? Lena asked, her voice gentle, but with a hint of concern. Elara just pointed at the now normal nebula. The blue. The star gems. Did you see them? Terran knelt down, placing a hand on her shoulder. We did, sweet pea. We certainly did. It was an extraordinary event. And now, my little astronomer, it's time for you to be in bed. We have a lot of work to do to understand what just happened. Elara nodded, though a part of her wanted to follow them, to be part of the understanding. But she knew her place. She was just a child who longed for the stars. As her parents left the living area, their footsteps echoing faintly down the corridor, Elara returned to her viewing platform. The nebula was back to its usual majestic self, swirling in its familiar dance of amethyst and rose. The blue current was gone, leaving no trace. But Elara knew it had been real. She had seen it. She had felt it. She lay back in her bed, pulling the soft dream fibers up to her chin. The lumibug settled on her bedside table, casting its comforting glow. But sleep still eluded her. Her mind was filled with images of the blue star gems. Those tiny, perfect crystals of light. Lyra's stories had never mentioned anything quite like them. What were they? Why had they come? And what did they mean for the stellarium? And for the stars themselves? Elara closed her eyes, but the sapphire light still pulsed behind her eyelids. She imagined a single star gem, floating in the vastness of space, a tiny beacon, a silent whisper from the heart of the stellar nursery. She felt a connection to it, a strange, undeniable pull. She wondered if she would ever see them again. Or if, perhaps, one day, she might even hold one in her hand. A real star gem, pulsing with the raw, untamed energy of a nascent star. The stellarium hummed its lullaby, but tonight, it felt different. It felt like the beginning of something new, something grander than any story Lyra had ever told. And Elara, for the first time, felt a stirring of destiny, a quiet certainty that her own journey, her own role in the dance of the stars, was about to begin. She drifted to the edge of sleep, a blue light shimmering in her dreams, a silent promise hanging in the cosmic dark. Elara awoke not to the gentle chime of the stellarium's internal clock, but to the soft caress of light. It wasn't the dawn gold that filtered through her window blinds, nor the gentle, shifting hues of the stellarium's stories. This light was swaying within her, a luminous hum beneath her skin, a vibrant azure that seeped from her fingertips and the very tips of her hair. She blinked, her eyes adjusting, though there was nothing to adjust. Her room, usually a canvas for the stellarium's projections, was now bathed in this steady, comforting blue. It pulsed with a rhythm that felt like her own heartbeat, yet grander, echoing the silent thrum of the universe itself. "Mom," she whispered, her voice a little breathy, a little awed. Lyra, who had been dozing in the armchair by Elara's bed, stirred instantly. Her eyes, usually so quick to focus, widened, reflecting the ethereal glow that now enveloped her daughter. "Elara, what in the—" Lyra reached out, her hand hovering, not quite daring to touch. The blue light intensified slightly around Elara's form, a protective aura, yet utterly benign. It was warm, like holding a sunbeam, but entirely cool to the touch, like water from a crystal spring. Lyra saw it then, in Elara's eyes, a depth that hadn't been there before, like looking into a miniature nebula, swirling with hidden stars. "I think," Elara began, her voice gaining a new resonance. "I think the dream followed me." She lifted her hand, and a tiny, perfect sphere of blue light detached from her palm, hovering for a moment before dissolving like mist. "It feels natural." The stellarium, which had been softly glowing in the corner, suddenly pulsed with a deeper, richer resonance. Its crystalline facets shimmered, and the familiar star charts on its dome began to swirl, no longer mere projections but living, breathing constellations, each star a pinprick of intense, focused light. The hum in the room deepened, a symphonic chord that vibrated through the very floorboards. "The stellarium," Lyra breathed, her fear giving way to an ancient wonder. "It's responding to you." It was true. As Elara focused on a particularly bright star cluster depicted on the dome, the blue light within her intensified, and a faint, silvery thread of energy seemed to stretch from her, through the air, and connect directly to the projected cluster. For a fleeting moment, Elara felt it. The incredible, vast distance, the fiery heart of a distant sun, the silent dance of countless worlds. It was overwhelming, exhilarating, and utterly real. It's like the stories aren't just stories anymore," Elara said, her gaze fixed on the shimmering dome. "It's like I can almost touch them." Lyra, ever the pragmatist, but also the dreamer, slowly rose. She walked towards the stellarium, her hand reaching out to its smooth, cool surface. "The ancient texts spoke of this," she murmured, more to herself than to Elara. "Of star weavers and cosmic harbingers. Those who could not just see the universe, but feeling its pulse, guide its energy." She turned back to Elara, her eyes shining with unshed tears of awe, and a faint tremor of fear for the unknown path ahead. "Elara, my little starseed, I think you've awakened something truly extraordinary." The next few days were a blur of discovery, wonder, and a quiet, profound shift in their daily lives. The blue light became a constant companion for Elara, receding to a gentle thrum when she was calm, intensifying to a soft glow when her emotions stirred, and blossoming into a radiant aura when she focused her intent. Lyra, with her vast knowledge of the stellarium's archives and her inherited wisdom, became Ilara's first guide. They spent hours poring over ancient star charts that the stellarium now displayed with startling clarity, their holographic depths revealing layers of information previously hidden. They learned of the stellar weave, a subtle network of cosmic energy that flowed through all things, connecting galaxies, nebulae, and even the smallest sentient dust motes. And Ilara, it seemed, was a natural weaver. Her first conscious act of weaving was small, almost imperceptible. She was trying to soothe the fretful lumina moth, a delicate creature of pure light that Lyra kept in a shimmering terrarium. As Ilara focused her blue light, a gentle, almost invisible thread of energy extended from her finger, brushing the moth. The lumina moth, which had been fluttering erratically, stilled, its own light intensifying in a soft, contented hum. It was a connection, a resonance, a silent conversation across species. "You're not just seeing the universe, Ilara," Lyra explained one evening, tracing a constellation on the stellarium's dome with a knowing finger. "You're becoming a part of its symphony. The stellarium isn't just showing you the cosmic song. It's teaching you to play your instrument." The stellarium itself seemed to come alive in response to Ilara's awakening. Its projections were no longer static or pre-programmed. When Ilara asked about a distant nebula, the stellarium didn't just show a picture. It created a three-dimensional immersive experience, allowing Ilara to feeling the swirling gases, the nascent stars, the whisper of stellar winds. She felt as if she could reach out and touch the fiery heart of a sun, or drift through clouds of cosmic dust. One morning, Ilara woke with a strange sense of urgency. The blue light was particularly vibrant, almost tingling. She rushed to the stellarium, which was glowing with an unusual, almost distressed red light at its base, though its dome still showed the serene blue of distant galaxies. "Mom, look!" Ilara exclaimed. Lyra was already there, her brow furrowed in concern. "I felt it too. A ripple in the weave. The stellarium is showing me a disruption." The dome of the stellarium shifted, focusing on a single, distant point. A small, faint star, barely visible on the cosmic map, began to flicker erratically, its light dimming, then flaring, like a dying ember. Around it, the fabric of space-time seemed to warp and tear, represented by jagged red lines on the stellarium's projection. "That's the star seed of Xylos," Lyra explained, her voice grave. "A nascent protostar, deep in the nebulae of whispers. It's too young to have a stable orbit, too fragile to withstand cosmic currents. It was supposed to be guided by the ancient star shepherds, but they vanished millennia ago." "It's going out," Ilara whispered, a pang of empathy for the tiny, struggling star echoing within her. She felt its fear, its struggle, its desperate clinging to life. It was a faint, struggling pulse against the vastness of the dark. "It will become a rogue star, lost to the void, or worse, collapse into a black hole before it ever truly ignites," Lyra confirmed. "And the ripple effect could destabilize the entire sector." Ilara felt the familiar blue light within her surge. It wasn't just a physical sensation. It was an imperative, a calling. "I can help it," she said, surprising even herself with the certainty in her voice. "I can feel its struggle. It needs stability, guidance." Lyra looked at her daughter, a mixture of pride and trepidation in her eyes. "Ilara, this isn't a story anymore. This is real. To interact with a star seed, even a nascent one, requires immense focus, immense energy. And you'd be projecting yourself across light years." "The stellarium can help me," Ilara insisted, placing her hands on the stellarium's cool, smooth surface. The blue light from within her flowed into the stellarium, and the device responded with a deep, resonant hum. Its dome swirled, and the image of the struggling starseed of Xylos grew larger, closer, as if zooming across the cosmos. "It's creating a pathway," Lyra realized, watching in awe. "A synaptic bridge across the weave. It's like a guided meditation, but with real-world impact." Ilara took a deep breath, grounding herself. She closed her eyes, and the blue light intensified, now forming a shimmering cocoon around her. She felt the stellarium embrace her consciousness, not pulling her from her body, but extending her awareness, stretching it across the vast emptiness of space. Suddenly she wasn't in her room anymore. She was in the ring. Not physically, but in a way that was more profound than any physical presence. She was a point of blue light, an ethereal consciousness floating amidst swirling, incandescent gases. Before her, a tiny struggling sun flickered, a baby star trying desperately to be born. It pulsed with chaotic energy, its core threatening to dissipate, its embryonic photosphere tearing apart. Elara reached out, not with a hand, but with her very essence. She focused the blue light within her, shaping it, not into a beam, but into a gentle, guiding current. It was like trying to cup a raging waterfall, to coax it into a gentle stream. She felt the immense, raw power of the nascent star, its untamed fury, its desperate yearning for form and stability. She remembered Lyra's words, "You're becoming a part of its symphony." This wasn't about imposing her will, but about finding the starseed's natural rhythm, its inherent song, and helping it to sing it true. She began to hum, a soft, wordless melody, and as she did, the blue light from her coalesced, forming delicate, almost invisible threads of pure energy. These threads extended towards the struggling starseed, not to bind it, but to gently guide its chaotic energies. She felt the gravitational currents that threatened to tear it apart, and with her focus, she subtly redirected them, like adjusting the flow of water in a cosmic river. She felt the internal nuclear reactions sputtering, and with her blue light, she infused a steadying, calming influence, helping its core to find a consistent, controlled burn. It was an immense effort. Sweat beaded on Ilara's brow and her physical body, and her breath came in ragged gasps. The blue light around her flickered with the strain, occasionally dimming before flaring back brighter, fueled by her determination. Lyra watched, her heart in her throat, ready to intervene if Ilara showed any sign of distress beyond the exertion. But Ilara's face, though strained, held an expression of profound concentration and an almost serene wonder. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours, or perhaps even eons in the cosmic realm Ilara now inhabited. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the erratic flickering of the starseed of Xylos began to lessen. Its chaotic pulses smoothed into a more regular rhythm. The tearing fabric of space-time around it began to mend, represented by the jagged red lines on the stellarium's dome receding, replaced by a soft, steady glow. Ilara felt a deep sigh emanate from the starseed, a sense of relief and nascent strength. It wasn't fully formed, not yet a shining sun, but it was stable. It was on its way. She had helped it find its song. With a final, gentle pulse of blue light, Ilara detached her consciousness. The vastness of space receded, and she was back in her room, slumped against the stellarium, gasping for breath. The blue light around her faded to a soft thrum, mirroring her exhaustion. Lyra was instantly by her side, offering a glass of cool water. "Ilara, you did it. The stellarium. Look." Ilara looked up. The dome of the stellarium was no longer showing red distress signals. Instead, the starseed of Xylos glowed with a steady, hopeful light, a tiny beacon of promise against the cosmic dark. Its chaotic energy had settled into a gentle, rhythmic pulse, a silent testament to Ilara's intervention. "It's resting," Ilara whispered, a profound sense of accomplishment and weariness washing over her. "It's going to be okay." Lyra hugged her daughter tightly, tears finally streaming down her face. "My brave little weaver, you just saved a star. You just brought harmony to a corner of the universe." Ilara leaned into her mother's embrace, feeling the warmth and love that grounded her. The blue light within her, though subdued, continued its gentle thrum, a quiet reminder of the power she now wielded. As she rested, the stellarium began to shift its projections. No longer focused solely on the single nascent star, it expanded its view, revealing countless other cosmic wonders. But this time, many of them glowed with faint, almost imperceptible blue lines, like veins of light crisscrossing the universe. These were the paths of the stellar weave, the energetic highways of the cosmos. And some of these paths, previously hidden, now converged, pointing towards distant, unknown galaxies, where other faint flickers, other nascent energies, awaited. The stellarium hummed, no longer just a lullaby, but a profound invitation. It showed Ilara glimpses of starseeds needing guidance, lost light streams needing redirection, cosmic currents needing balance. It showed her ancient pathways, long dormant, now stirring with potential. It showed her the enormity of the universe, not as a daunting void, but as an interconnected tapestry, waiting for her touch, waiting for her song. Elara closed her eyes, feeling the gentle pulse of the blue light within her. Her journey had just begun. The universe, vast and wondrous, was calling, and she, the little star weaver, was ready to answer. She drifted to the edge of sleep, a galaxy of blue lights swirling in her dreams, a silent promise echoing in the cosmic dark, a promise of countless stars yet to be sung into harmony. The blue lights swirling in her dreams began to coalesce, no longer distant galaxies but closer, shimmering currents that flowed through her very being. Elara felt a peculiar lightness, not of her body, but of her spirit. Her room, which had been a comforting cocoon of soft blankets and familiar toys, shimmered at the edges of her perception, growing translucent. The ceiling faded, replaced by an infinite canopy of dark velvet, pricked with distant, glittering dust. Her bed, though still solid beneath her, felt as if it were floating on an ocean of starlight. The gentle pulse of the blue light within her intensified, no longer just a soft glow but a vibrant hum, a melody she felt more than heard. It resonated in her chest, a quiet thrum that seemed to echo the silent promise she'd heard in her dreams. She opened her eyes, not to her familiar bedroom, but to a vista of unimaginable beauty. She was suspended in the heart of a cosmic cloud, a nebula of soft, swirling colors, lavender, rose, and a deep, ethereal cerulean, all shot through with the familiar, comforting brilliance of her own blue light. She wasn't wearing her pajamas anymore, though she didn't recall changing. Instead, a garment of shimmering stardust seemed to cling to her, soft as a whisper, almost transparent, yet holding the warmth of 1,000 suns. Her bare feet, usually ticklish on the carpet, now felt grounded on nothing, yet entirely secure. It was as if the fabric of the universe itself was holding her, a gentle, unseen hand. A song, a whisper, soft as the brush of a moth's wing, seemed to drift through the cosmic dust around her. It wasn't a voice from outside, but an echo from within, a knowing that bloomed in her heart. A song is needed. Elara looked around, her eyes wide with wonder. This wasn't a dream. This was increaling. The vast, wondrous universe was truly calling. She felt a gentle pull, a current in the river of stars guiding her. Without needing to think, she let herself drift, her blue light extending from her, a shimmering trail in the cosmic currents. Her journey was not one of speed but of sensation. She flowed past ancient silent nebulae, their colors like spilled paints on a cosmic canvas. She saw clusters of young, brilliant stars, sparkling like freshly scattered diamonds. Time seemed to stretch and compress, a fluid concept in this timeless expanse. And then the pull grew stronger, more insistent. She arrived, not with a jolt, but with a soft landing, a gentle settling into a specific region of space. Before her, a small, solitary star flickered erratically. It was a dwarf star, not grand and blazing like the giants she'd seen, but a humble, essential part of its own small system. Around it, 3 planets orbited, their surfaces dim and muted. One, a pale green, seemed to shiver. Another, a dusty orange, looked parched. The third, a deep violet, seemed locked in a perpetual twilight. The star itself pulsed, its light wavering, sometimes dimming to a faint ember, then flaring too brightly, almost angrily. Elara could feel its distress, a discordant vibration in the cosmic tapestry. It wasn't singing its song correctly. Its core, its very heart, was out of tune. The planets in turn were suffering, their own melodies muted by the star's erratic rhythm. "Oh," Elara whispered, her voice a soft chime in the silence of space. She reached out not with her hand, but with the blue light that flowed from her fingertips. It extended, a shimmering thread, reaching towards the troubled star. As it touched the star's outer corona, she felt a profound surge of energy, a chaotic symphony of heat and light that was struggling to find its rhythm. She closed her eyes, listening with her whole being. She heard the star's deep, rumbling pulse, like a giant drum struggling to keep time. She heard the faint, shivering whispers of the planets, their own songs of life and vibrancy almost silenced by their erratic sun. This star wasn't broken, just lost. It needed to remember its own true melody. Elara took a deep breath, the cosmic dust around her seeming to inhale with her. Then, she began to sing. Her voice, usually soft and childlike, now resonated with a clarity and depth that seemed to fill the void. It wasn't a song with words, but a melody of pure vibration, a hum that started low and steady, a foundational note of peace and harmony. The blue light within her intensified, flowing from her heart, down her arms, and out through her outstretched hands, braiding itself into the thread connecting her to the star. As her song continued, the erratic flickering of the dwarf star began to calm. The blue light from Elara's touch seemed to penetrate its fiery surface, reaching deep into its core. It was like tuning an instrument, gently nudging the star's chaotic energies back into alignment. She hummed a rising scale, a crescendo of warmth and stability, encouraging the star to remember its steadfast rhythm. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the star's pulses grew more even, its light steadier, brighter, but no longer angry. A warm, golden glow began to emanate from it, spreading outwards like a comforting blanket. The pale green planet shimmered, its surface taking on a richer, more vibrant emerald hue. The dusty orange planet seemed to drink in the new light, its parched lands softening, hints of ancient riverbeds reappearing. And the deep violet planet, though still in twilight, now had a soft shimmering aurora dancing at its poles, a gentle promise of returning life. Elara felt a profound connection to the star, to its planets, to the entire system. A warmth bloomed in her chest, not just from the star's returning heat, but from the deep satisfaction of having helped. She had sung the star back into harmony, woven its light back into the cosmic tapestry. The star, no longer distressed, hummed a deep, steady melody of gratitude, a silent thank you that resonated through the void. She smiled, a tiny, triumphant smile. This was what it meant to be a star weaver. As her song faded into a gentle echo, Elara felt the subtle current of the universe shift again, beckoning her onward. She drifted away from the now harmonious system, leaving behind a rekindled star and reawakened planets. The blue light, though still vibrant within her, softened slightly, ready for the next call. Her next destination was a vast, sprawling nebula, but not one of vibrant colors. This one was dull, its once brilliant gases and dust looking faded, almost gray. It was like a tapestry left out in the cosmic sun for too long, its threads unraveling, its colors leaching away. Elara felt a different kind of distress here. Not the chaotic energy of a struggling star, but a quiet, languishing sadness. The nebula's song was a mournful sigh, its energies dispersing rather than coalescing. "Oh, you've lost your sparkle," Elara whispered, her heart aching for the muted beauty before her. This wasn't a single entity, but a vast, intricate cloud of cosmic material, each particle a tiny thread in the grand design. They were all drifting apart, their collective melody fading into silence. This was a place that needed to be woven. She extended her hands, palms open, and the blue light flowed freely, forming shimmering tendrils that reached into the vast expanse of the nebula. She didn't sing with her voice this time, but hummed a deep, resonant tune, a melody of coalescence and connection. Her hands began to move, tracing intricate patterns in the cosmic dust, as if she were guiding an invisible needle and thread. The blue light acted like a magical loom, drawing the scattered particles of gas and dust together. She gently coaxed wisps of hydrogen, tendrils of helium, and faint traces of heavier elements. She didn't force them, but reminded them of their natural inclination to gather, to swirl, to dance in cosmic ballets. Her humming grew more intricate, a complex symphony of gentle pulls and pushes, of quiet encouragement. As Elara wove, the nebula began to respond. Faint colors, long dormant, started to bloom. A soft blush of pink here, a whisper of emerald there, a deeper, richer cerulean emerging from the gray. The dust clouds began to coalesce into more defined shapes, swirling patterns that spoke of ancient cosmic dances. The mournful sigh of the nebula transformed into a gentle, growing chorus of whispers, 1,000 tiny voices finding their collective song again. And then, as the nebula reawakened, something truly wondrous happened. Tiny, ephemeral creatures of light, no bigger than her thumb, began to emerge from the swirling colors. They were like living motes of stardust, their forms shifting and changing, glowing with an inner luminescence. They danced around Elara, tracing intricate patterns in the air, their movements a silent ballet of gratitude. They were the nebula's own children, born of its reawakened energy, expressions of its renewed vitality. Elara giggled, a pure, joyous sound that echoed softly through the vastness. She felt the nebula's immense, collective sigh of relief, a deep contentment that resonated within her. She had not only restored its beauty, but also helped give birth to new life, new expressions of cosmic wonder. Her own connection to the universe felt stronger, deeper. She wasn't just fixing things. She was participating in creation itself, learning with every thread she wove. The blue light within her pulsed with newfound strength, a testament to her growing understanding and skill. She felt a profound sense of purpose, a deep knowing that this was her path, her destiny. The universe was not just waiting for her song, it was singing along with her. As the nebula glowed with renewed brilliance, the little light creatures swirling happily around her, Elara felt the familiar gentle pull once more. Her journey continued, guided by the silent symphony of the cosmos. This time, the pull led her to a different kind of challenge. Before her lay a solitary planet, dark and cold. It drifted through the void, far from any star, its surface a barren expanse of frozen rock and ice. It was a rogue, a wanderer, lost from its birth system ages ago. Elara felt its deep, profound loneliness, a silent ache that resonated with her own heart. Its song was a barely audible whisper, a faint, desperate plea for warmth and belonging. "Oh, you poor dear," Elara murmured, her eyes filled with sympathy. This planet wasn't broken, nor was it out of tune. It was simply lost, adrift in the cold dark, its own inherent life force dormant, waiting for a sun to rekindle it. She extended her hands, focusing her blue light not as a mending thread or a weaving loom, but as a gentle, guiding force. She closed her eyes and listened, not for a song, but for the planet's faint, almost imperceptible heartbeat. She found it, a deep, slow thrum beneath layers of ice and rock, a resilient spark of life clinging on. With a deep breath, Elara began to hum again, a soft, soothing lullaby. As she hummed, a long, shimmering blue thread of light began to unspool from her fingertips, reaching out to the lost planet. It wasn't a physical rope, but an energetic tether, a connection of pure intention and warmth. She gently latched the thread to the planet's core, feeling its ancient, sleeping heartbeat within her own. Then, with an immense concentration, Elara began to pull. It wasn't a forceful tug, but a delicate, almost imperceptible coaxing. She sang her lullaby to the planet, a song of warmth, of home, of belonging. The blue thread pulsed with her intent, gently nudging the massive celestial body. Slowly, ever so slowly, the planet began to respond. It shifted, its icy surface creaking with ancient protest, then yielding to the gentle persuasion. Elara guided it, her blue thread extending through light years of space, towards a distant, benevolent yellow sun she had sensed earlier. A sun with ample space in its outer orbits, a sun that radiated comfort and stability. It was a long, arduous journey, but Elara did not tire. Her blue light sustained her, and the planet's faint, responding heartbeat spurred her on. Days and nights, or what felt like them in the timeless void, passed. Elara sang. She pulled, she guided. She felt the planet's slow, ponderous journey, its gradual acceleration, its eventual gentle curve into a stable, far-flung orbit around its new sun. As the planet began its new, slow dance around its adopted star, a remarkable transformation began. The sun's distant warmth, faint though it was, began to penetrate the icy crust. Patches of ice began to melt, revealing dark, fertile rock beneath. Wisps of atmosphere, long frozen solid, began to stir, forming thin, shimmering clouds. Elara continued her lullaby, a song of awakening and new beginnings. As she sang, the blue light infused the planet, rekindling its dormant life. Tiny, vibrant flora, adapted to cold and dim light, began to sprout from the newly exposed soil, glowing with soft bioluminescent hues. Then from beneath ancient rocks, tiny, crystal-like creatures, made of pure light and resilient energy, began to emerge, blinking at their new, gentle sun. They were the planet's own, ancient life, awakened from eons of slumber. Elara felt a wave of profound relief and joy wash over her. The planet was home. It was safe. It was alive again. Its song, once a desperate whisper, now hummed a low, contented melody, a deep, resonant bass note in the cosmic symphony. As she gently detached her blue thread, leaving the planet to its new, stable life, Elara felt a subtle, powerful presence surrounding her. It wasn't a physical being, but a vast, ancient consciousness, woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. It was a celestial guardian, an entity of pure energy and timeless wisdom, observing her work. Elara felt a wave of gentle approval, a silent nod of acknowledgement for her efforts. She was not alone in this vast universe. There were benevolent forces, ancient watchers, who cared for the cosmic tapestry. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the guardian's presence wash over her. The universe was so much more intricate, more alive, than she had ever imagined. Each star, each nebula, each lonely planet, they all had a story, a song, a purpose. And she, Elara, the little star weaver, was learning to listen, to understand, to help. Her own blue light, now a steady, confident glow, felt like an extension of her very soul. She had sung a star back to harmony, rewoven a nebula's fading colors, and guided a lost planet to a new home. She had only just begun, and the universe, immense and beckoning, stretched out before her. There were countless more stars yet to be sung, countless more cosmic threads to be woven, countless more silent promises waiting to be fulfilled. Elara opened her eyes, a deep sense of purpose blooming in her heart. She drifted towards a new cluster of stars, a shimmering jewel box of distant lights, sensing a complex symphony of calls and whispers. The adventure had truly begun, and she, the little star weaver, was ready to answer. She was ready to sing. She was ready to sing. The cluster that beckoned was a tight knot of infant stars, barely out of their nebular cradles, still shimmering with the raw, untamed energy of creation. As Elara drew closer, she felt not a single dominant call, but a tangled chorus of nascent voices. It was like listening to 100 different instruments all trying to find their key, their rhythm, their place in an orchestra that had yet to appoint a conductor. One star, particularly bright and boisterous, pulsed with a restless, almost aggressive energy. Its light was so intense it was scorching the atmospheres of its closest planetary companions, preventing the delicate dance of molecular formation that was the precursor to life. Its song was a loud, impatient bellow, drowning out the softer, hopeful murmurs of the smaller, cooler stars and the nascent whispers from the swirling dust clouds. Elara hovered, her own light soft and observant. She didn't rush in, didn't try to impose her will. Instead, she listened, truly listened, to every single note in that chaotic symphony. She felt the fierce pride of the bright star, its desire to burn, to shine, to assert its presence. But she also felt the yearning of the cooler stars for gentle warmth, the quiet determination of the gas giants trying to hold their atmospheres, and the fragile, almost imperceptible dreams of the dust motes, longing to coalesce and form something more. This wasn't a thread to be mended, she realized, but a whole tapestry to be repatterned. The boisterous star wasn't malevolent. It was simply unaware of its own strength, unaware of the delicate balance required for the entire system to thrive. Its song was a solo when it needed to learn to be part of a choir. With a deep breath that pulled in the cosmic dust and starlight around her, Elara began to hum. It was a low, resonant note, a counterpoint to the star's aggressive pulse. She focused on the yearning of the gas giants, the dreams of the dust, the quiet hope of the smaller stars. She wove these feelings into her hum, infusing it with empathy and understanding. Her song wasn't about diminishing the bright star, but about guiding its energy, teaching it restraint and harmony. She imagined the star's light not as a destructive fire, but as a protective embrace, a gentle warmth that nurtured rather than scorched. She pulled on the cosmic threads of gravity and light, not to alter them forcefully, but to suggest a new arrangement, a different flow. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the bright star's song began to soften. Its pulses became less erratic, more rhythmic. Its light, while still brilliant, took on a warmer, less aggressive hue. Elara sang of shared warmth, of mutual support, of the beauty of diversity. She wove in the silent promise of what could be, nebulae blossoming into planets, planets cradling oceans, oceans teeming with life under a sun that knew how to both shine and nurture. As she sang, she found herself not just weaving light and gravity, but also patterns of intention. She hummed a lullaby for the scorching star, a melody that reminded it of its own deep, ancient core, the place of quiet power and steady purpose. She danced through the orbital paths of the planets, gently nudging them into a more harmonious rhythm, like a cosmic choreographer. Days, or perhaps eons, passed in this shimmering, singing dance. When Elara finally felt the shift, it was profound. The boisterous star still shone brilliantly, but its light was now tempered with a gentle understanding. Its song was no longer a solo bellow, but a strong, steady bass note, anchoring the growing symphony of the system. The smaller stars brightened with newfound confidence, their quiet songs now audible. The gas giants settled into their orbits with a contented hum, and the dust clouds began to swirl with a purpose, coalescing into protoplanetary disks, their silent promises now a little louder, a little closer to fulfillment. Elara smiled, a radiant burst of light within her. The threads were woven, the song sung. The system hummed with a new, vibrant harmony. Her first grand symphony was complete. But the universe was vast, and the calls were endless. She felt a new whisper, fainter and more ancient, tugging at her. It came from beyond the cluster, from the vast, dark stretches between galaxies, a place where light was sparse and silence reigned. This call was not of disharmony, but of absence, a deep, pervasive quiet that spoke of forgotten connections. She drifted, leaving the newly harmonious cluster behind, their grateful, gentle hum a soft melody in her wake. The journey through the intergalactic void was different. Here, the threads were not tangled, they were simply missing. It was like looking at a loom where entire sections of the tapestry had simply vanished, leaving gaping holes of nothingness. The whisper grew stronger, a mournful lament. It was the song of lost stars, not stars that had died, but stars that had somehow become untethered from the greater cosmic dance, adrift in isolation. She sensed ancient, almost forgotten pathways, once vibrant with light and energy, now cold and dark. These were the silent promises she had sensed. Promises of connection, of shared light, of being part of something larger, that had been broken or simply faded into the void. As she delved deeper into the cosmic darkness, she encountered strange, ephemeral beings. They were not made of starlight or matter, but of pure thought and ancient memory, drifting like luminous jellyfish through the emptiness. They were the remnants, the echoes of forgotten stellar nursery rhymes, the keepers of cosmic lore. One such being, shimmering with the wisdom of millennia, approached her. Its form coalesced into a gentle swirl of starlight and shadow. Little Weaver, its voice resonated directly in her mind, a soft, harmonious chime. You feel the absence. Many have felt it. Few have dared to mend it. What is this absence? Elara asked, her voice a soft, inquiring hum. It is the unraveling, the echo replied. The great loom of the cosmos, which binds all things, has frayed in places, not through malice, but through entropy, through neglect, through the sheer immense scale of existence. Stars, once connected by invisible threads of gravitational sympathy and shared destiny, have drifted too far, their songs no longer reaching each other, their silent promises, the very reason for their being, are fading. Elara understood. These were not just physical connections, but energetic, emotional ones. The universe, like any living tapestry, needed constant care, constant reweaving. Can they be reconnected? She asked, her heart aching with the vastness of the task. The echo pulsed gently. It is said that only a true star weaver, one who sings not just with light but with empathy, can find the lost threads. It requires more than power. It requires understanding the silent language of every isolated star, every forgotten nebula, every drifting planet. Elara took a deep breath. This was her purpose. She reached out, extending her senses beyond her own light. She didn't look for the stars with her eyes, but felt for them with her heart. She sought the faintest echo of a song, the most distant thrum of a forgotten promise. It was painstaking work. She traversed vast stretches of emptiness, guided only by the subtlest psychic resonance. She found stars that had become so accustomed to their solitude, their light had turned inward, dimming to a whisper. Planets whose atmospheres had frozen solid, their nascent life force suspended in a timeless slumber, waiting for a connection that might never come. She sang to them, not loud and boisterous as she had to the infant star, but with gentle encouragement. She sang of shared light, of the warmth of community, of the joy of belonging. She wove new threads, not physical ones, but energetic pathways, conduits of memory and intent. She imagined the ancient paths, the patterns of connection that will surely be there, and she imbued them with her own light, her own purpose. It was like painting a masterpiece in the dark, guided only by the brushstrokes of memory and the canvas of potential. She had to remember the connections, feel the missing links, and then sing them back into existence. One day she found a cluster of ancient golden stars, their light dim with age and isolation. They were so far from any known galaxy, they had become legends, myths whispered by the remnants. Their silent promise was a collective longing to contribute, to share their ancient wisdom, their steady warmth, with younger, more energetic systems. But they were too distant, their light too faint to reach. Elara knew this was a threat of monumental scale. She couldn't simply pull them closer. She had to create a bridge, a pathway of light and song that could span the unimaginable gulf. She began to sing. It was a song of remembrance, a melody that resonated with the very fabric of the cosmos, echoing the first light, the first connection. She drew upon every star she had ever touched, every song she had ever sung, every thread she had ever woven. She imagined the universe as a vast, interconnected network, a shimmering web of light and life. Her own light intensified, not with aggressive brilliance, but with a steady, unwavering glow that pulsed with profound empathy. She focused on the golden stars, feeling their ancient yearning, their desire to be seen, to be part of the grand tapestry once more. And she focused on the distant, bustling galaxies, humming with young, vibrant stars, unaware of the wisdom that lay waiting in the void. She began to weave. This wasn't just about light or gravity. It was about resonance, about creating a sympathetic vibration that could carry the essence of the golden stars across the emptiness. She pulled on strands of dark matter, not to manipulate it, but to coax it into forming a shimmering, almost invisible pathway. She threaded starlight through it, memories of warmth, whispers of ancient knowledge. It was a delicate, intricate dance. She had to ensure the pathway was stable, that it didn't drain the golden stars, but rather amplified their gentle light, allowing it to ripple across the void. She sang of continuity, of the wisdom of elders nurturing the energy of youth. As she wove, something extraordinary happened. The remnants, the drifting echoes of memory and thought, began to gather around her. They didn't interfere, but they added their own faint ancient hum to her song, their collective memory strengthening the threads she was spinning. They were the universe's collective unconscious, lending their weight to her purpose. Slowly, spanning what felt like an eternity, a faint, ethereal bridge of light began to form. It wasn't a solid structure, but a shimmering, pulsating pathway, a river of gentle starlight and ancient wisdom flowing from the golden stars towards the distant galaxies. It was a bridge of connection, a pathway for their silent promises to finally be heard. The golden stars, feeling the new connection, began to brighten, not with youthful vigor, but with a serene, confident glow. Their ancient light, once trapped, now flowed freely. A gentle, steady beacon reaching across the intergalactic void. Their song, once a mournful whisper, became a resonant hum of contentment, a song of purpose rediscovered. Elara felt a profound sense of exhaustion, but also an overwhelming surge of joy. The absence was mended, not completely, for the universe was infinite. But this gaping hole in the tapestry had been filled. The silent promises of connection, of shared light, of purpose, had been fulfilled. She rested then, letting her own light dim to a soft, contented glow. She floated in the newly created pathway, feeling the gentle current of ancient starlight flow past her. She was no longer just a little star weaver, she was a bridge builder, a song restorer, a weaver of the cosmic heart. The universe felt different now. The vast, dark spaces still existed, but they no longer felt empty. They felt like potential, like spaces waiting for new threads, new songs. She had learned that weaving wasn't just about fixing things, but about revealing the inherent beauty and connection that was always there, just waiting to be sung into existence. Her journey was far from over. She knew there were countless more stars yet to be sung, countless more cosmic threads to be woven, countless more silent promises waiting to be fulfilled. But now, she carried with her not just her own light, but the echoes of ancient wisdom, the hum of harmonious systems, and the profound understanding that every single star, every single mote of dust, every single life, was a vital thread in the grand shimmering tapestry of existence. Ilara closed her eyes, not in sleep, but in a deep, peaceful communion with the universe. She felt the gentle pulse of the newly connected golden stars, the harmonious hum of the infant cluster, and the countless fainter whispers of the cosmos, each a call, each a promise. She was a part of it all, an integral, loving thread. And as she drifted, a soft, contented smile bloomed across her starlit face, ready for the next symphony, the next weaving, the next song. The adventure had truly begun, and she, the Star Weaver, was ready. Always ready.